Simon Ndweka is the Corporation Secretary at the NG-CDF board. Simon, good morning.
Morning, Eric.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat of Kenya's biggest
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And to show you that it's really good to have you here, CT is going to welcome you with the day's proverb. This week, the proverbs are from North Africa. Where?
Algeria.
Algeria. You were to tell us a number of things about Algeria.
Yes, today. I was. I was to tell you that this country is an extremely interesting one. Interesting because if you look at its history, many of the people who actually ended up there were actually Arabs. Okay. But then they found a community of people called Berbers, Wenyeji. Now that entire belt, that region, you will find a mixture. And then, of course, the intermarriages also create new communities. But the government is an interesting one. Yesterday, I diverted slightly from what it actually is, and I baptized it as something which I thought was appropriate. So today, let me get back to form and tell you what sort of government they actually have. Okay. No guesswork, no embellishing, nothing. It's a unitary, semi-presidential republic.
Unitary, semi-presidential republic.
Yes, because they have a president. This is how it works out. When you hear unitary, semi-presidential, there's a prime minister. They have a prime minister, then they have a council president, and then they have an assembly president. So if we had a prime minister, we would also be a what? Semi-presidential. But since we don't have a prime minister, we only have a prime cabinet
thingamajiggy.
Leader. We are not. And then it has in its legislature an upper house and a lower house. But the upper house is called a council of the nation. Nice name, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, then lower house is called People's National Assembly.
Okay.
All right? That's the uniqueness of the country.
Okay. Voila.
You said the president's name is?
The president's name is...
Majid Samad.
No, yes, correct. It's Abdel Majid Tebboune.
Abdel Majid Tebboune.
Yes, Tebboune. It's O-U-R-E.
Okay.
Whether it's pronounced Tebboune or Tebboune, Tebboune.
Okay.
Yes.
Prime Minister?
Prime Minister is actually called Nadir Larbaoui. I am actually pronouncing I'm pronouncing every yes.
Labrador.
Yes, Larbaoui. I'm sure it's pronounced differently. Forgive me for desecrating the name, but I'm reading. Now, then the council...
E the consonant or E the vowel?
I.
Okay.
If you went to school and the bulk of the school was under trees, then you'd see it was A-E-R-O-U. Understand?
Understood it.
Okay, very good. Council president is called Saleh Gujil.
Okay.
Assembly president is called Ibrahim Bugali. Not Ugali, Bugali.
Not Bugatti.
Yes, and not Bugatti either. All right? Can I now mention the proverb?
Okay.
You've not done that yet?
No, I haven't. I was just giving you the peculiarities of the country. All right. As we didn't say a word, he thought he could do anything he liked.
What's the proverb?
All right. The proverb of the day from the country of Algeria. As we didn't say a word, he thought he could do anything he liked.
Oh, it wasn't you.
It's not you who's not saying a word. Sorry.
Oh, okay. As he didn't say a word, he thought he could do, as we didn't say a word, he thought he could do anything he liked.
Since you're the guest, I need to explain to you the peculiarity of this group. On rainy, cold days like this, my friends are a bit slow.
Yes.
So,
Simon, what's the interpretation of this proverb?
Eric, I think that's a very interesting proverb. Maybe...
as we didn't say a word, he thought he could do anything he liked.
I would imagine a situation where there is an authoritarian government and the president or the person who is in charge of that country, even without any reference to constitution, would do anything that they would want to do. Word or without a word. That would be my understanding of that proverb.
So the people are just quiet, calm, doing their own things, living their own way, living despite the government. So he thought, I've got free will to do as I wish.
As I see fit.
As I see fit. Very rich coming from Tunisia, isn't it?
This country is actually called Algeria.
Algeria, right.
But Tunisia is not far.
It's not far from there.
Why not?
That's our. Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
That's a good one. Yeah. Please, we know CDF.
Yes.
You'll tell us about the 20 years of CDF, but let's start with this board thing. What's the NG-CDF board?
Thank you, Eric. NG-CDF board is the state corporation, a corporate entity that is established to manage the entire CDF fund. We have a board with a chairman and board members appointed by the CS, National Treasury. We have a CEO that now constitute our board of 11 members. They are charged with the responsibilities of effective management of the fund. Of course, there are other organs. At the top, we have the ministry. We have the National Treasury and the State Department Economic Planning. Then we have the board down there. At constituency level, we have what we call NG-CDF, National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committees. These are the committees in each and every constituency. We have those committees of 10 members. And down there, also we have another organ called PMC, Project Management Committee. And as you can see, there is a proper governance structure.
How many PMCs do we have? 290?
No. We only have 290 NGC committees at constituency level.
Okay.
They receive the money. Now, this PMC, every single project has a PMC, Project Management Committee, that now undertake the implementation of any single project. Of course, I didn't say at national level, we have the National Assembly that oversees the FAD. So basically, that's the structure of the FAD. Of course, at the board level, we have secretariat led by the CEO at the management team at a head office. But the same board has seconded a person called a FAD account manager in each of 290 constituencies. So this FAD account manager is the CEO of NG-CDF. So this person is responsible to the committee managing the money that go to the constituencies.
I see. So it's an entire structure that runs from top to bottom.
From top to bottom.
You have not mentioned the MP.
Now, I have mentioned the National Assembly because National Assembly oversees the FAD, national government funds. And as we shall see, as we progress, the current legal dispensation, we do not have someone by the name of an MP running the FAD. I shall be making those clarifications because there have been fundamental...
Make the clarification now, please.
Oh, yeah.
People see CDF, they see MP. Yeah. They see billboard, they see MP, they see CDF.
Now, let me say this, Eric. CDF started in the year 2003. And we are celebrating 20 years since then. And maybe for your information, in 2003, that is when the first act was enacted. And it was a very good idea. And in that year, 03-04, the government disbursed 1.26 billion in 2003-04. In 2023-2024, the government has disbursed about 57 billion, or rather, the allocation was 57 billion. So you can see there has been growth. But let me go to the first issue on how the legal framework has developed since then. In 2003-2004, there were no structures. In fact, members of parliament were the ones literally running the FAD. They could go run with checkbooks, issue checkbooks, get to have projects that were implemented then. But in the year 2015, or 2010, we got a new constitution. and we had to rearrange our act to the constitution. But in 2013, we enacted a new law called the CDF Act of 2013. In that act, the MP would participate in nominating members to this organ called NG-CDF committee.
Okay.
Would select members to serve, and he was also, or she was also, an ex-officio person in that committee. In 2015, some Kenyans exercising their constitutional freedom under Article 3 went to court and they said this CDF animal is unconstitutional for many issues. One, MP, there was no separation of powers because MP was deemed to be running the show. At that time, I'd have said the member of parliament was an ex-officio member. When the act was declared unconstitutional, we went back to the drawing board and a new act was enacted in 2015. This act, one of the grounds of declaring the act unconstitutional was the aspect of separation of powers, because the court declared that there was some interference. The member of parliament was in it. The member of parliament could not allocate the funds at the National Assembly, come and implement and participate and oversight. There was, so to speak, conflict of interest.
Yes.
So MP was removed from nominating members to this committee called NG-CDF. But still, the act was not very cleaned up. When the act was declared unconstitutional, the board went to Court of Appeal. But at the same time, Eric, we enacted the Act of 2015 to remove this aspect of member of parliament. However, Eric, you may have looked at the Act of 2015 before it was amended in the year 2023. We had a committee in the Act called Constituency Oversight Committee with 4 members appointed by the member of parliament, and the member of parliament was a member of that committee who would also attend meetings of NG-CDFCs. Good enough, last year, towards the end of last year, the National Assembly amended the Act again to remove that Section 53, and we no longer have any trace of a member of parliament. If you come through that Act, you will not find any trace. The last trace was in that committee called Constituency Oversight Committee. Now, that section was repealed. But you see, Eric, the notion, the Kenyans, how the CDF had started, and the involvement of member of parliament, that's the notion we have in the country, that this fund belongs to the member of parliament. But if you look at the legal structure, the legal dispensation, you will not find a member of parliament anywhere now in the Act, other than oversight. Of course, under Section 50, we have a National Assembly Select Committee oversighting the fund. That's a committee now oversight the fund.
Made up of members of parliament.
Yes, there are 19 members of parliament.
Only in parliament now.
Only in parliament. And that committee is established the standing orders of the National Assembly. So they do not in any way learn or get involved in the running of the fund.
Okay.
But like any other committee in the parliament, any other government institution, they are overseen by various committees of the parliament. So again, also CDF, we have that committee called National Assembly Select Committee on CDF, NG-CDF.
So who runs this fund? As from what you've said, previously it was perceived or actually that members of parliament ran the fund. They decided what was going to be used, who it was going to be sent to, whatever. From what you've said, that individual has then been removed at all constituency level, at all constituencies, right? So who runs the fund today? Because the fund still goes to each constituency, does it not?
Yes.
So who runs that?
Now, thank you so much.
Ndu.
Is it Odu or Udu?
Ndu. Let's go with Ndu. Yes.
Thank you. Now, as I have said, at the constituency level, we do have a committee called the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committee. They receive every year, we allocated funds from the National Treasury. That fund is shared across the board in all the 290 constituencies. And how we share these funds is dependent on the number of, the 75% of the fund is shared equally across the board, equally, 70%. Then 25% is shared based on the number of wards per constituency. If you have 80 wards, you get a larger share because that depicts higher population. If you have 2 wards, like a constituency in Lamu County, you get less amount. So 25% of the that fund is now shared dependent on the number of wards. I mentioned the Project Management Committee. This committee called the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee receives every year, they receive project proposals from members of public. They conduct public participation, public forums. They come and say, we need ABCD to be done, depending on the needs and depending on money available. They prioritize their project. They take to the constituency committee. Then this constituency committee, depending on the money available, prioritize these projects. Then they submit to the national board at head office. The board will consider those projects to confirm they are in conformity with the circular issued by the CEO, with the legal framework and in adherence to the constitution. For information, Eric, we only implement projects that are of national government. If you look at our constitution, Schedule 4, we have functions that are done by the county government and those that are of national government.
And some are concurrent.
Yeah, no, we do not touch any.
So you don't touch the concurrent.
Exclusively functions of the national government. Now, if those projects proposed by the members of the public, considered by this committee called NG-CDF at constituency level, then brought to the board. The board will look at those proposals through a committee of the board. Before they come to the board, full board, there's a committee on programs, performance and risk management that go through those project proposals one by one. If they meet the threshold, they are now proposed, recommended to the board, led by a chairman, our current chairman, and board members. They look at those proposals. If they conform with all the requirements, they are approved. Then the board will communicate to the constituency committee that your project proposals have been approved. Then the constituency will communicate to the beneficiary your proposal
has
was
been
approved by the board. That's the process of project approval. When now the money comes from the national treasury, it will come to the board. The board has an account in national central bank. The board, for information, Eric, this must be very clear. The most cost-effective fund in this country is NG-CDF. Why? Because only 5% of that fund is left at the national government level to manage, effective management. The 95% will go down to the people implementing their own projects. 95%. So the board will receive the money from the national treasury in tranches and will now submit this money or transmit the money to the constituency account. Each and every constituency has an operation account that receives these funds. I hope we are together. Now, this money now will be transmitted to PMC, Project Management Committee, that will now undertake the implementation of the project. And that's how the management, the running of the project is done under the CDF.
Okay, allow me to just, if I can just go over what you've said. So there's the board. Every constituency is supposed to deliver to their constituency committee the project that they want to do. Is this under the Member of Parliament?
No.
Who is the one who is presenting these projects for implementation at the constituency level before it then goes back to the board? Who's doing this?
Very good. I said constituency committees at that level, comprising of 10 members, including the DCC, Deputy County Commissioner, who is a member of that committee. They receive project proposal. They call for public participation, public forums. They announce across the constituency that we are in the beginning of a new financial year. We shall be having public forums within chiefs camp, schools, churches. You are invited to come and make your proposals.
Sure.
So what do you want to be done for you? And that's what I call, if you look at Article 10, one of the national values and the principles of governance is public participation. So people down there are called upon to come and make their proposals.
Yeah.
They submit. Of course, there are so many proposals, and funds are very limited. They are prioritized. For example, a school, maybe in a certain constituency, say
needs a dining hall,
a dormitory, a classroom. Is this a need or a bus? So they prioritize. Once this committee at constituency level considers all these proposals, they are now prioritized. Based on the needs. Right. For example, if a school needed a bus, another school needed a dining hall, which is more needed, a dining hall. So the one that requested a school bus is maybe would be considered in the future,
next year.
Whatever. All those, but of course, because the board communicates how much is available for you in this financial year, and you are required to be guided by other government agencies in estimating costs of this project. So you estimate, and you say, our 202 million this financial year can only cater for the foreign. So they submit to the board. So as you can see, member of parliament is nowhere because the NG-CDF are instructed or guided by the board, conduct public participation, and of course, madam, they must submit proof, minutes, proceedings, and the people who participated in those public forums. That's how projects are submitted to the board.
Okay. Mr. Simon Ndweka.
Yes, Eric.
You're saying officially,
yes,
on paper, this
not
is...
officially.
The residents of a certain ward in a constituency are the ones who say, these are our needs.
Yes.
Their wishes are transmitted to the constituency NG-CDF committee. The committee sits and prioritizes.
Yes.
Sends to board.
Very true.
Board reviews. Board approves.
Yes.
Board says yes or no. Money is disbursed. Project is implemented. No, MP has no role to play here. MP does not influence the committee, does not influence the people, does not influence the board, does not influence nothing. On paper.
Let me tell you, how are these committee members selected? The board issues circular instructions to constitute selection panel.
Who selects the board?
The national board is appointed by
CS.
By the CS. 7 members are appointed by the CS National Treasury. We have a AG is a member of our board, Attorney General. We have a PS, Minister of Education, PS National Treasury, and our PS Parent Minister, that is a State Department for Economic Planning. We have 4 government representatives in the board and 7 independent members appointed by the CS and gazetted. These members of National Government Constituencies Development Committee at constituency level are also gazetted by the board.
Right.
So
who picks them? They
are picked by a selection panel. This selection panel is constituted by the board issues instructions to the fund account manager. It is actually the chairperson of that committee is the DCC. Deputy County Commissioner or a representative from that office. That is the national government. And you can see the essence of that is because we implement projects that are of the national government in nature. Then we have a hard account manager who is a member of that selection panel and 2 other persons from among the community. Yes. They advertise for whoever wants to become a member of committee. Those names are now again presented to the
board at national level. And gazetted by the secretary.
No. Once they come to the board, we go through to confirm that they have been selected as per the guidelines, because we have guidelines under our regulations.
Yes.
They are now taken for approval by the National Assembly.
Okay. So MP is playing no role.
And you can see, at no given time have we ever had a situation where National Assembly ever rejected any single constituency committee members.
So back to my question, just a yes or no. MP is not playing any influential role
other than oversight.
in this, other than oversighting how the money has been spent and whether the committee has been selected properly, procedurally, whether procedures are being followed, whether the law is being followed. That's it.
I would imagine,
I want us to take a break, so you just say yes.
I wouldn't say yes, because I wanted to explain at Article 94, the role of a member of parliament
is to oversight
or representation
and to represent.
Legislation and oversight.
Yes.
So at the representation, you can mobilize your people that CDF is having for us. You
Please
can
come out and participate.
Participate.
Right.
That is mobilization, but there is no influential role that a member of parliament would play.
20 years of CDF. It has evolved from 2003-2004. Just a paltry 1.6 billion shillings. Well, in comparison to how much is going out today, 1.6 billion shillings that was earmarked for CDF, and in the current financial year, 57 billion shillings going through CDF to develop constituencies. And Simon has just given us the breakdown of how this CDF fund is run and even how it's split. 75% of CDF is given equally to all the 290 constituencies. Then the 25% of these 57 billion shillings now goes into CDF prorated according to the number of wards in a constituency. So some constituencies then receive more money in CDF than others because of their size. MPs are not playing a role here. MPs only play a role of oversighting the fund.
Okay.
We see MPs claiming glory over CDF. Are we saying that this is wrong? For example, when an MP is voted as the best manager of CDF in his constituency because of the work that the CDF has done in his constituency, schools, putting up gates in schools, cabro, building new classrooms and dormitories and roofs and painting and putting floors,
paying fees.
How can they be the best over something in which they're not involved in?
And we also see, Simon, every beginning of school year, particularly, and school term in many cases, MPs dishing out CDF bursary checks.
Yes, thank you, Eric. For information, this is very important for us to note. Since inception, the government has allocated about 522.57 billion. That is slightly over half a trillion. And we have received so far about 484.64 billion that has come to the board and to the constituencies. Now, this aspect of a member of parliament participating in the affairs of the fund is an illusion. It's a perception. In countries where we have presidents who play ceremonial roles without executive powers, for example, in every constituency, they have a bursary vetting committee.
Yeah.
People, needy student would come.
Who chooses this committee?
That committee is one that I said. It is a subcommittee of the main committee of the national government at constituency level. They have a subcommittee called a bursary vetting committee. They issue forms that are considered on the basis of neediness. Once it is done, they do checks. And if you ever see a member of parliament who is participating in maybe issuance of dummy checks, those are ceremonial roles that are not executive.
Those are dummy checks.
Yes, real money will have gone to the constituency. And I can play a ceremonial role, like a pastor who does not receive maybe Holy Communion, and a member of parliament, because those are his people, and he can participate in the affairs of the constituency.
Sorry, so are you telling us, I'm sorry, these things that we see, right, whereby there are actual checks that are being handed over to individuals at the constituency level, as the terms are, because they televise these things, we see them. You're saying that is just for optics, it's just for show, that it has already been done beforehand or it will be done later on?
We have said they participate in that ceremonial activity. Maybe you can invite a member of parliament as a guest of honor as we issue these checks.
Oh,
okay.
But
so he's an invited guest but the check.
The check.
The allocation of the bursary was done by the committee.
They vetted, and remember, Eric, these are needy students who make applications, and there is evidence to that effect.
Okay.
Member of Parliament will not come and say, give Simon Ndweka or Eric Latif, or
it is not their decision.
It's not their decision.
Okay, let me ask a question of a direct incident that occurred in December last year, and if I remember correctly, it was Honorable Amolo who said, "We want to close, we want to go on recess, and there are students who are waiting for money, but that CDF had not been released at that time, and that what are they supposed to go and tell their people if you've not released money?" And then the promise was made to them that don't worry, money will come out. My question is, why is the promise made to them if there is an overall understanding that it is actually not you who is at the helm of this thing? Why do they keep doing that? Because to the rest of us who are on the outside watching, these are the guys who are running the show.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much. That's a very good question. Now, look at it this way. A member of parliament is a representative of the people. I have sent you because the national government has not released the money, and this person, Chebet, Wajiko, Ouma, down there cannot come to Nairobi and go to the national treasury and demand for money, isn't it? And this member of parliament is the only savior. Go tell those people, if they do not release money, will not go to school.
Okay.
So they rob, they represent, they tell the national government, our people are demanding that you release their money. If they are not there, these people would suffer greatly. And I'm saying this with a lot of authority, that a member of parliament plays a role of mobilizing or representing their people, their constituents, in demanding for their money. Would Simon, that be wrong?
You've said it very well.
Yes.
So this is basically an MP just playing their representation law role.
Exactly. Because if
by going to Parliament and agitating for the release of CDF money, this is what an MP should do. Anyway in Parliament. Now, when this MP, like Arama in Nakuru, is telling people, Pangeni line, Bwana Wacheni, and he's now giving them check. That is also just playing a ceremonial role as a guest of honor or as a foremost leader in this constituency to show the people that the job that you sent me to do to represent and make sure that money has been unlocked has actually been unlocked, and here is the money now being distributed in bursary checks.
It's like a guest of honor during prize giving day.
You didn't prepare the prize or the trophy, but they came and said, come and carry and give.
Yes. No, for example,
and we are proud of the community.
Eric, let me say this. A member of parliament would lobby and tell the national government, as much as you're prioritizing other areas, these students are going back to school next week. You haven't released money that will go to the CDF. The checks are done in the back room. And now the member of parliament tells them, now the money that you sent me to agitate for you is here. The checks have been done. He has not influenced. He did not participate in selecting the persons who will benefit. It is already done by a committee.
You know, I'm still stuck on this committee thing. Here is a constituency.
Yes.
The CDF board.
Yes.
How do you determine who is eligible to be in this constituency board to determine issues like those children who are needy?
Now, what they do when they are issuing bursary or other application forms, they involve other players. For example, county directors of education, and these people are required to come with fee structure. How much balance do you have?
Let's go back a bit. There is a constituency board that
it's called CDF committee.
It's called the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committee of 10 persons.
Right. How are they appointed?
Now, I said that there is a selection panel, and these positions are advertised at constituency level, when now they are being brought on into office.
They advertise in the national papers?
No. Across the constituency. Because maybe churches, chiefs camps, and those other places that we shall be hiring or selecting members to come to this committee. Now, this selection panel of 4 persons will do the report, interview, and everything else, and submit to the national board, then transmit to the National Assembly. These persons are eventually gazetted by the Attorney General through the ministry, now the parent ministry. They are gazetted, actually they are public officers. In that 10-member committee, they form a bursary and other subcommittees. They vet. and they get to say, to know, these are the needed person, these are the needed students. You can tell, I have a Swiss balance of so much. Now, I am a deserving case. Then the checks are written to schools, and maybe when you see Member of Parliament issuing those checks, it doesn't mean he ever did influence. Of course, he robbed the National Treasury, released the money, no CDF, no Parliament. It's for the sake of the people. Remember, the hashtag is just society for the welfare of the society. Yeah. How then would they be doing that if they're not really agitating for their own people?
Let me tell you, Simon, when they come here, because they come here, many of these MPs, they tell us, for example, in my constituency, now I'm forced to reduce the amount of money that's going to bursary because of the number of needy students in my constituency, right? So I'm forced just to give out 2,000 per child. Maybe those going to national schools will get 10,000. I am forced to do this because of the need. I've also built 3 new schools with CDF. I've done this and the other. Are you saying they've been lying to us? Or they have been over-representing themselves and their importance.
Representation role.
They've been padding the truth.
A member of parliament is overzealous. When you are representing your people, you want to
own the development.
You own the development. Number 2, they would participate in the welfare of their people. When they say they are part of that constituency, they are part of that society, they are part of the agitators, they rob it for that money to be released. And for information, when it comes to the implementation of this project, we say they're implemented by project management committees, and those structures are there on the ground. You'll see Member of Parliament maybe opening those or laying foundation stone, commissioning, just purely ceremonial roles. They have no legal role that they play in those.
Do you know, Simon, what is actually ceremonial in this entire affair? Is the board. Because the narrative that has taken root and the narrative that is believed is that it is the MP who has built that classroom, it is the MP who has built that kitchen, it is the MP who gives those checks.
I dare say that the MP might actually believe that this board works for them.
Let me make it.
And why haven't, as you answer this, has there been any clarification or instruction that has come from the board at national level that says, MPs, because you are not involved in influencing any aspect of a decision that's made by the people of your constituency, you should therefore not put your name or image on any project that's implemented by the NG-CDF in your constituency?
Very good. One, with or without a member of parliament, a constituency would deserve their share.
Okay.
202 million or whatever amount they receive, they get, it is their right, with or without a member of parliament. Now, the board that runs the FAD has issued proper instructions. We have a branding manual where these constituencies are required to brand without bringing or making some misrepresentations. At this misrepresentation, you'll see something like patron, this and that, initiated by this and that person.
So and so.
But let me tell you, even looking at why these people went to court, at why we suffered the blows that we suffered, and why we had to clean up the act, is to get rid of the influence. By the way, Eric, there was a direct link before cleaning up the act, because a member would literally appoint members in the Act of 2013. That would mean he knows or she would make a determination who goes to that committee. Then he was a member, ex-officio member. 2, the last stroke was COC, Constituency Oversight Committee, where a member would appoint 4 members in that committee, and he was
among them,
among the 4, now making the 5.
Yes, that
has been removed. They can no longer attend a committee meeting. So when you see some writings, I can tell you for sure, those people deserve those monies. Their money. Member of parliament, as it were, wouldn't be considered as playing any influential role. But there before, he was, our member of parliament was right in the FAD.
So to clarify, the last 9 years since the enactment of the CDF Act of 2015, MPs should not be putting their names anywhere.
That is the instructions issued by the board. And that's how the branding should be. They shouldn't put their names.
It should not be anything at the patron.
No, by the way,
MP
in the Act, we do not have an animal called a patron. It doesn't exist in
There
the
used
law.
to be an individual called a fund manager.
Manager.
Yes.
Yes.
It still exists.
Now, that fund account manager is an officer of the board seconded to the constituency who is now the CEO
of that
the
constituency
fund
committee.
at that constituency. When the board transmit 150 million, the AIE holder, authority to incur expenditure, person is that person called the fund account manager.
Who's an employee of the board at the national
board,
level.
And accountable to the board.
Okay.
Not answerable to
No.
any politician.
No.
Not even answerable
He's
to the
actually a
county.
public officer, an employee of the board.
Not even answerable to the local county, assistant county commissioner.
No.
Anything.
DCC is a member of committee.
But
Deputy, per every single sub-county, we have a DCC.
Okay.
now I want to ask a question.
Yes.
And this is with regards to then the impact of CDF for the last 20 years. I've been having a conversation with a friend of mine called Fadhili Kanini. And we've been looking at, so he says CDF has had a huge impact. And my question has been, let's just look in the last 10 years of devolution in this Nairobi County, we have 17 constituencies. How much money is going into Nairobi, into a constituency from the 75%? Like this financial year?
Per constituency, how much do they get?
Average.
If you look at the last allocation of 57 billion, you take 75 of that amount, of course you must less the 5% that comes to the board, you share equally. They are getting in excess of 150 million.
So 150 million per constituency.
In excess of that.
17 constituencies in Nairobi. That's a lot of money. Okay? Times 10 years. In the last 10 years of 17 constituencies in Nairobi. And I've been asking, so where has that money gone to? In Nairobi, how many new schools have we seen being built and that we can attribute to CDF? How many new classrooms? What is the impact on congestion of schools in Nairobi? We had an MP for Dagoretti North yesterday, and she's previously been here before and told us about just the congestion of grade 7s as they were getting into school.
Good.
How do you respond to this?
Thank you so much. Let me give you a national outlook.
Yes.
Since inception, CDF has constructed or initiated 3,087 schools. 3,087 schools.
And by school, we mean open field, new school.
Yes.
Okay.
Out of those, 1,660 are fully funded by CDF. 1,660 fully funded across the country. In those institutions, enrollment to those NG-CDF initiated schools have been 882,000 students. 882,000 students. We have built over 9,000 classrooms. In the 3,087 schools, we have built over 9,000 classrooms. Now, we have done about 581 laboratories in those schools. We have done 156 thereabout dining halls. So the impact has been huge. When it comes to, we have also partnered, Eric, as we finish, with Ministry of Health, and we have been funding KMTCs. The board has dedicated 2.8 billion to KMTCs, where 61 new KMTC done by the board, 61 KMTC done. Now some have been completed, the others are under construction. And 14 more have had their infrastructures improved by the board. We have 5 that are yet to commence. So if you look at the national wide, and for your information again, every year money going to bursary is about 15 billion, benefiting about 1.2 students. 1.2 million per year.
15 billion into bursaries.
We have many school buses across the countries. Of course, we have partnered with the Minister of Interior, have done many chief camps, police stations, we have done street ratings, everything we have done with this money. That's why we are saying the most effective fund. We have many other funds, but the most footprint, anywhere you go in this country, you must see some footprint CDF. That is the.
So Nairobi, how many new schools?
Well, I may not be having the statistic for Nairobi,
But they are new schools.
They are new schools, but the challenge we have in Nairobi is that they don't have LAD. Nairobi, most of the
We have land, but we are building houses. Ask Hinga. Okay, go on.
Look at a constituency like Madale.
Yes.
To get, for example, Ruaraka, they had, sometimes back, they had to rehabilitate a dump site to construct TJ Kajwang Primary School. They have done quite a number of schools, but there is limited LAD. Because the RAD needed to do a school would be maybe a little larger than any other infrastructure. But they do a lot of improvement of the existing schools. But for new schools, they may be very minimal.
This is a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Planners ensure that there is land for posterity.
True.
The question is where
Where
did
the
that
land?
land go? But that's a discussion.
Well,
But Simon, thank you very much. You've really opened up and clarified very many issues when it comes to CDF. And we'll invite you again.
Thank you.
As you mark 20 years of CDF, now to look at the impact, real true impact of CDF around the country and extend that conversation. Simon Ndweka is the Corporation Secretary at the NG-CDF board, the board that sits at the national level that manages CDF across the country.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.